I've been thinking about something a lot lately about whether I'm actually trying or whether I've gotten really good at imagining a better version of myself without doing much about it. I don't think I realized how unhappy I was until I stopped distracting myself from it. I'm tired of being in debt and being or feeling unhealthy, and honestly tired of constantly thinking about how to be someone else. That part sneaks up on you. And for a long time, I thought other people just had something I didn't. Like they were built differently, more confident, more certain, and more capable. I didn't resent them though. I just assumed that, there was a gap I couldn't cross. And then I had this moment at work in a meeting, and I must admit I wasn't paying full attention, but I did notice that this person that I've always looked up to, someone I'd quietly put on a pedestal, I saw something in them that felt human, vulnerable, even maybe, definitely uncertain, and I can't explain what tipped me off. It wasn't even dramatic, it stuck with me because once you see that, the story changes. If they are human, and yeah, if they are human, then so am I. And if they're figuring things out as they go, then maybe I don't need permission to start. That thought hasn't left me since, and it made me look at how much of my life has been avoiding myself. N- Not that I was copying or trying to be anyone specific, I literally constantly was adjusting or editing myself so that I wasn't myself. And I realized I don't really let myself exist as I am. The clearest example was my photos. So recently I went through my Snapchat memories, and almost every photo had some kind of filter on it. And it wasn't funny because it wasn't the dog filter or those funny filters. These were filters that made me look better than real life. I wasn't trying to be someone else. I just didn't want to be me. And that messes with you more than you would ever realize, really. Because when you're constantly looking at a version of yourself that isn't real, the real you feels like a letdown. And that probably explains something I didn't think much of at the time. But for a whole year after moving into my home, I did not own a mirror. And I didn't avoid buying one on purpose, it was not intentional, but I just never felt the need to. And only later did it hit me why. It's because I didn't want to look too closely. When I finally did, the feeling wasn't sadness, it was frustration, disappointment, and a little bit of anger, I suppose. Not even at myself, it was more at the idea of what I thought I was supposed to look like to be taken seriously. And so I decided to do something more practical and simple, really. I started tracking my food and went into a calorie deficit, something I had literally written off for years and convinced myself would not work for me. But it did, and I have lost 10 kilos. I'm still not where I want to be, but that's not the point. The point is that I realized that action actually works. Not just thinking about it and not planning it, just simply doing it, even if it wasn't perfect. And what unsettled me was literally how simple it was. It was so, so simple. And all this time, I had been avoiding responsibility more than I want to admit. Deleting those photos came after. Um, I remember hesitating before doing it, knowing once they were gone, that was it. No filtered version to fall back on. It was very uncomfortable for me, but it also felt like relief, almost like dropping something I didn't need anymore. And that's when I realized I wasn't chasing confidence, I was chasing honesty. Around that time, I also registered a non trading business, and on paper, that may seem small, but for me, it mattered. Growing up, expectations around me were always low. I was well, I say I was, but I still am. So, as a child, I was a disabled child, and the message, intentional or not, was that I'd always need support, and that support wouldn't, and that basically, that I wouldn't really build anything on my own. And I carried that longer than I realized. So, registering that business wasn't about money for me, it was me quietly rejecting an assumption that grew with me. And then, after the first week, I stopped working on it. It wasn't because something went wrong. I think I just avoided it. I burnt myself out early. I then stepped back, and I didn't want the pressure of following through, because once you're accountable, you can't pretend anymore. And that's when I had to rethink how I see things like manifestation. So, for a long time, I thought it meant picturing the end result clearly enough that that it would somehow happen. And you think you can write down a certain number and put it under the pillow, or whatever the other some people call manifestation techniques. I am not dissing them. I have never tried them, but for me, um, I now see it that that is just comfort dressed up as belief. Real change, in my perspective, comes from doing the things that makes you uncomfortable before they feel safe. It's really not about wanting the outcome. It's about becoming someone who can handle the process, because if I don't change how I act, I already know how this is going to end for me. I'll be in the same place and same mindset. If anything, I could be in a worse place mentally and physically, and that scares me more than failing ever could. So this this isn't a declaration. It's not a turning point story. It's not going to make you think like the way the pursuit of happiness made you feel. This is just a record of where I am. It's 2026 now, and I've decided to stop waiting for the right moment. I don't need I don't need it to look good or be impressive for social media or for anyone else. I just need to keep moving quietly and consistently. And this is the part no one sees, but this is the part where work actually happens. And this is the hidden climb. So, welcome to my hidden climb.